Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we finally have some news for the next DLC. Yes, another developer diary has just dropped. Developer blog, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, we're going to do the usual. We're going to watch it and stop at anything of relevant. There will be some timestamps below for any sections that you might be specifically looking for. And I'll try to cut out any extra faff that's in here, because in some cases they do kind of joke around and so on. But there is a lot of information. A bunch of new characters have been confirmed and units too. So yeah, let's begin. There's a lot to cover today. I think it's like a 25-minute dev blog. Actually, before we begin, what you might have noticed alongside the developers over here on some nicely painted and I think a half-painted rogue idol, the key art is there for the DLC. So we can see Demonetization Maneater, we can see Skulltaker, and we can see Gorbad. It's kind of nice. It's a very similar style to obviously what we've seen for Thrones of Decay, but very different colouring.
Hi everyone, I'm Steve Coleman, Senior Community Manager on Total War, and I am once again sat down with some of the lovely development team for Warhammer 3. We're going to talk a little bit more about the next DLC and Update 6.0. So before we dive into that, let's do some quick introductions. Everybody knows Rich.
Hello everyone. Yeah, I'm Rich, I'm the Game Director. I look after the entirety of the Total War Warhammer trilogy.
Josh, a new face. Tell us who you are, what you do, and maybe just some highlights of stuff you've worked on in the past.
Certainly. So, I'm Josh. I'm a battle designer on the Warhammer 3 DLC team, and I had the absolute pleasure of working on Chaos Dwarfs and, of course, Thrones of Decay. And yeah, just like with those DLCs, I really can't wait for everyone to see what we got lined up for this.
Alright, stopping here already. This is actually quite good. It's someone who did the battles for the Chaos Dwarfs and Thrones of Decay. Thrones of Decay had pretty good battles. Chaos Dwarfs, it must have been quite difficult to do, considering that a brand new race does require a lot more work. But he seems fairly confident, and that's good. I like that. Confident devs means good work is happening.
Awesome, thanks Josh. And Chris, another new face to our videos. Who are you? What do you do? And what have you done before?
So my name's Chris. I'm the Project Audio Director on Warhammer 3 DLC, and I've worked on various bits of Total War games in the past. I think my favourite, actually, the one I started off with was Warhammer 2 DLC, which was Silence of Fury. So I remember working on the Coatl on that one. That was quite good fun, so yeah.
Stopping again, but going for a different type of dev. That's always kind of good. You see, when it comes to Total War, there's a lot of people that work in the background. So it's nice to see people that do sound, for example. That's quite important because you want to be immersed with that type of stuff. And yeah, you worked on Silence of the Fury. That was a pretty good DLC. Lots of monsters there. Can't be easy to bring to life a monster like that, especially audio-wise, when there is no real reference points.
Awesome, and thanks for being here with us today. Like before, let's jump in with a little update on where we're at with development. So Rich, do you want to give us a little update on what's happening at the moment?
Yeah. We're into the thick of it. So I think last time we said that we were fully, moving into the iteration period. So we're still in that. We're still playing the game. We're still looking at what we need to improve and change. And I think she wanted to solve some of the puzzles. So that's what we're still focused on, fixing some bugs, making changes around that. And I'm sure Chris will tell you a little bit more about the audio side of that as well.
Alright, so they're bug fixing, they're just getting stuff sorted. He doesn't really provide a lot of information here, and that's kind of disappointing. It's kind of how Rich talks, though. A little bit more information would be great, and don't get me wrong, I think that we're going to get a little bit more as the video progresses. If not, this wouldn't have been like the 20-plus minute video that they gave us. But a little confidence at the beginning is always great.
Yeah, our team are very, very busy. We're flat out at the moment, so all the amazing work that the character artists and animators and VFX artists have done, it's now all culminating in the audio phase now, so we take all that stuff and our team just help bring the world of and characters from Warhammer Total War to life.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, we'll look a bit more into that a bit later on. Is there anything new that we can reveal today about the factions, like some new units or some bits you've been working on that you'd like to talk about today? I mean, Josh, if we pass over to you, maybe if you want to talk about the ogres, if there's anything you can reveal to us today about what's coming with them?
Oh, absolutely. We could start off with the Paymaster.
Alright, I'm jumping in already here. I was not expecting an ogre Paymaster. Interestingly enough, there was a leak a while back which kind of confirmed that, but really, really curious. You see, a Paymaster is actually more of a Dogs of War character, so totally thrown me off. Looks very cool though, I must admit. Like visually, it looks like an Ogre Paymaster. It's great. You see, you've got the money box at the top and the bottom. You've got, yeah, it's just it's an ogre version of the Paymaster. That's super cool.
Quite an interesting unit because we all know that the ogres love their meat, but there's also one other thing that they absolutely love, and that's their gold. And the Paymaster sort of serves to be that reminder in the battle that if he dies, or if you're not performing well enough in battle, you're not getting paid. So he'll sort of fulfill that support role that the ogres don't necessarily have in combat, and will specialise in primarily in enhancing a battle unit's capabilities in combat.
All right, a support role for the ogres. Okay, I'm actually kind of curious to see how that's going to work. Obviously, I'm expecting it to kind of work like the Cathayan Magistrates and so on. But yeah, that's definitely something which kind of was lacking on the tabletop. I mean, barring that, you've got like a Bruiser Battle Standard Bearer on the tabletop, but you don't have Battle Standard Bearers or any way to create a Battle Standard Bearer in Total War. So yeah, I'm all for this. I love the idea of a buffer character for the ogres. That sounds really, really fun.
You've been doing audio for Paymaster, I assume, as well. So is there anything you can tell us about that? How's that been?
Yeah, so whenever we're looking at a unit, we're always trying to think about what's something unique about them or some characteristic we want to bring to life with the sound. And so the sound design team have done a really good job bringing out, you'll hear sort of gold and chains and, all clinking around. So it really brings out his characteristics. Yeah, he does like gold. Yeah, he's a big fan of the money. So yeah, that's just helps characterize him a little bit and bring him to life. Yeah.
I think his little Noblar likes it as well. That sits on his shoulder or up by the chest or something.
Does,
yeah.
Okay, so more audio features are coming into the game, such as like gold when you're near the character and so on. That's cool. That's cool. At the end of the day, you want stuff to be visually and audibly different, especially when it's something like ogres, right? It's very difficult. I can't imagine it being easy to make the ogres sound different when the race is very samey. So I look forward to checking them out.
What else is coming with the ogres? There's got to be more that you can tell us.
Oh, absolutely. One thing I think people will really like is the Piggyback Riders. Oh. It's such an absurd unit when you think about it, when you've got this vast, diverse world where you have giants, demons, and all sorts of monstrosities, and then you've got two Noblars piggybacking on each other. They're a fun unit. They're going to specialise as sort of a early anti-large infantry for the ogres. Very well coordinated as well, as you can imagine, for individuals such as them on the battlefield. Yeah. They'll be a bit difficult to hit, but they'll be well worth the cost and, recruitment in combat.
All right, I was not expecting this. The Piggyback Riders, oh my god. Okay, so yeah, Noblar unit that's going to be anti-large. That's going to be kind of nice, actually, if you're going to be dealing with other ogres or just in general large monsters. And it's cheap, so Noblar units aren't really going to be expensive. You can have them running around without too much of a problem. I just was not expecting that. I mean, it's a welcome surprise, that's for sure. That's a white dwarf unit. It wasn't even a proper one, wasn't it?
And the other thing I would like to talk about in regards to them is they'll have a regiment of renown.
Nice.
These guys, they're even more absurd. They have ventured into Bretonnia, spent a bit of time there, and sort of enhanced their, let's say, jousting skills. So they'll be bringing a lot of Bretonian gear into combat, all the helmets, the lances and such.
Yeah, I haven't seen the pictures yet, but I've already got an image in my mind of what that's going to look like. So I'm looking forward to that.
They are super cool.
Absolutely.
We're really excited by them. Elite premium ogre cavalry.
Not sure how good this Regiment of Renown will be, but at the end of the day, I like that they're experimenting a little bit, especially when it's just like having a little bit of fun, right? That's when a faction like the Ogres really does shine. Just do something completely silly.
While we're on the subject of ogres, what's been your kind of highlight of working on it so far with this DLC? Like, have you got any favourite units or bits or mechanics that are coming into it that you've enjoyed working on most?
Oh boy, they've all been honestly a blast to work on. Our artists and animators have done a fantastic job bringing them all to life. Mm-hmm. One unit in particular which has gotten me is the Eshin Maneater. That's another regiment of renown we're going to be bringing in.
Oh wow, okay, so you might remember when we first got shown the ogres back for the pre-launch of Warhammer 3, I was kind of disappointed that the Maneaters all looked the same and that we weren't going to get that much variety. If you guys weren't aware, in the tabletop, when you looked at the Maneater models, there were loads of different types, right? And the idea was you built up characters to be man-eaters, essentially. Well, man-eaters to be like a character squad. So it's nice that we're finally getting man-eaters in the different sense.
And that guy is, well, he spent time with the Skaven, and he has picked up a few stealthy and sneaky skills from Skaven, and you're going to be bringing that kind of unit into the battlefield. Imagine this large ogre who's probably the worst character in the room in regards to stealth, but he still manages to pull it off in combat somehow.
Impressive. Yeah.
For anyone at home, if you're not sure what we're referring to, that's the ninja-looking man-eater ogre. So yeah, he looks really cool, and he's like a pseudo hero, isn't he, Josh?
Yeah.
Because it's just him. It's just one. It's not a unit of them. Yeah, special guy to play around with in battle.
Absolutely. We don't usually do units, well, for regiment renowns like that at least, but that's part of what makes him unique.
Is there
Okay, I wasn't expecting single entity. This should be really interesting. So it's going to be very, very strong for a man-eater, but it still has to hold its own line. Oh god, I can't wait to actually use it. That's going to be super cool. And we've seen the design on the screen. It looks really, really interesting. Yeah, I'm super in, man. I've actually got that model somewhere.
anything else you can tell us, like any abilities or anything to kind of shout about that are coming with the ogres?
Yeah, one thing in particular is
Hey, just a heads up, because after the whole demonetization issue from a few weeks ago, from mentioning demonetization man-eater, I'm just going to cut out his name every time. I do apologize, guys, but this is my job, and I'd rather not fight with YouTube again. You know how much of a problem they cause.
it's an ability called Deadeye. But in this case, since accomplished ogres, he's also been through a lot, survived a lot as well. So during that time, you tend to pick up a lot of skills and proficiencies. In this case, how to use the pistol to wear down and snipe people from a distance. So the player will be able to pick any target, well, not any target, any character they want, and if they want to wear him down, maybe take a pop shot or even finish him off as they're routing. Well,
So demonetization man-eater has a kill shot. That's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. He's got the pistol and so on. I like the idea of that. It's like an execution mechanic. Sometimes it kills it, sometimes it doesn't. Makes sense for the character that's going to be out there killing other characters. Because I assume he's going to also have duelist and be able to, like, do really good damage against characters and single entity monsters.
But yeah, orcs and goblins. There's some cool stuff coming. You might notice on the table, got a few spider riders down there. And there's a big reason around that. We're going to be doing Snagla Grobspit. He's going to be your legendary hero.
Well, first up, he looks absolutely amazing. I love the design. Keep in mind that this was a character that never had a model. He had rules, he had like really bad art, but that's pretty much it. I am pretty happy with this. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little disappointed because I kind of hoped that in the future we could see him as a legendary lord for a forest goblin army. But yeah, I mean, makes sense for a legendary hero. Great design, the spider in white and stuff, that looks grim. Oh yes, that's so good.
So like we mentioned last time with Golgfag, that he's kind of a master of all the different, orcs and goblins and trolls and everything that makes up that their roster. This is now the forest goblins that are going to be coming to the party in Snagla. If you don't know too much about Snagla, he's an 8th edition character. He's a forest goblin that rides around a big old giant spider. We've actually had his regiment of renown, his boys, if you like, the Death Creepers, in since... crikey, what was it? Not Warden the Paunch, way back. King and the Warlord. So like really old school. So he's been hiding out somewhere in the Drac Wild, and we finally caught him, and now we're sticking him in the game. And as you might imagine, for a forest goblin, he's all about poison. So you can expect some skills and some buffs and abilities all around that, which accentuate not only his skill on the battlefield, but also his Death Creeper units and then his army as a whole. So he's going to be a fun one. Looking forward to seeing him rock up.
All right, so Forest Goblin's going to focus on spiders and poisons and stuff. I mean, that's kind of expected. It's nice that the legendary heroes are now following the whole same format where they're going to buff up specific units. You got that with Khazak the Befouled, buffing up Nurgle Cavalry, and then obviously this. I like that. It's a good system because it allows you to have fluffy style armies. It's not necessarily going to be the best army in your disposal, but if you want to have fun and use, the Spider Riders, the Arachnorocks, and so on, why not just have them but super, super buffed up, right? Make them more fun.
And then alongside that, we're also going to be introducing a new hero. So that's going to be the Night Goblin Big Boss. And this hero is going to be all about, again, accentuating things around squigs. So as you've seen in the past, we've introduced the Colossal Squig, so I expect him to be able to wrangle them and do some funky things there. And the other squigs that we've already got in the game.
Was the Colossal Squig confirmed before? I mean, if it's not, it is now, right? No, I think it was confirmed in the last dev diary. It's like 3 a.m, guys. Either way, Night Goblin Big Boss, that means that you've got some more theming with Scarsnake. That's always great. There's so many missing lords and heroes for the Orcs and Goblins, like generic style. So the more that gets added in over time, the better, because, theming is important. This is going to be great for Scarsnake, not so much for anyone else, but yeah, cool. For a theming point of view, I just want to point that out. The fact that it's going to be buffing up squigs means that you're going to be using squigs a lot more anyway.
Black Orcs. So we're doing Black Orcs with shields, something that I know a lot of you have asked for a long amount of time. So they're going to be coming in as a new unit. They've got these really big scrappy shields with the colourful sort of faces on them, tough as nails, and they're going to be joining the fray as a new unit as a part of the DLC.
That's really strange, right? First up, I'm kind of excited for Black Orcs with shields because that means that you've got a proper front line there to defend yourself, but also they've just recently done a bunch of units. I don't know why I started whistling there. But yeah, they've done a bunch of units that they've said, a unit variant we're going to put into the FLC patches and so on. So unless they've had to create a bunch of new assets for these lads, that's probably how they can justify it. Either way, kind of nice. I hope that means in the future we'll see additional hand weapons with the Black Orcs, because that's something that I've been rolling on recently in Old World, and it would just be nice to see it here too.
Let's take a look at Khorne. Josh, I think you're going to tell us a bit more about some of the units that are coming, some new ones that we can reveal today.
Yeah, so one we can reveal right now is the Lord, the Bloodspeaker.
I mean, he leaked about a week and a half ago, but okay. He looks really cool, though. Very similar to... Actually, yeah, very similar to the unit that you would get on top of a War Shrine, which most people use as a Chaos Sorcerer. I don't know, maybe that's just that vibe I'm getting. Super cool, though. I love the indentations, the scarification. Really, really nice. Yeah, I'm super keen.
Completely new for Khorne. We all know what Khorne's about, all about the fighting, killing for the skulls, the blood and gore and all that. The Bloodspeaker introduces a new sort of role for him. So support role, specialises in buffing friendly units around him, but he also encompasses the best of Khorne, which, as I've just stated, fighting everything. So this is a character you can easily have enhance your units in combat just by just getting him stuck in, and he'll be durable for that, that's for sure.
A buffer lord for Khorne sounds great. Obviously there's no magic allowed for Khorne, which is why he's missing lords and hero options. Well, this is the lord option that is going to replace the missing sorcerer lord. Yeah, super keen. It's going to work like a warrior priest and have similar abilities, well, obviously more chaotic, but that's pretty much what I'm expecting. That should be kind of interesting to see how he performs and why you would bring this over the Bloodletter / Bloodthirster when you level it up, or the generic Chaos Lord of Khorne.
Any others?
Well, we've got Zangors, Pestigors, and now we have Khornegors.
Okay, I had to stop here. Dude, they look like the old model, just a little bit modernized. That's so good! That's so freaking good! Like, if you didn't know, right, the old Khornegor models, they're kind of iconic, right? So, seeing a modernization of that is, oh man, it brings so much joy to me. I absolutely adored these old models, right? Because you had the Khornegors, the Sangors, the Slangors, the Pestigors, but the Khornegors always really stood out. That's so good, man. That's so freaking good.
And, oh boy, they're a really tough unit, to say the least. They'll have a anti-large sort of role within the actual roster, so sort of mid. So you can choose in between the Chaos Warriors with Hellbeards or with the Khornegors, but one thing that sets the Khornegors apart is they have the best qualities of a Gore unit from the Beastmen roster. So they'll have abilities such as Primal Fury, Frenzy, and of course, as Khorne is ever so watching combat, if they fall below his expectations, they will certainly get a buff that will make sure that when they kill, they're doing it right.
Okay, I've got a little bit of disappointment here because it looks like they're going to be using great weapons. Sure, that's what the model had way back in the day. I was kind of hoping for additional hand weapons because we've got great weapons with the Pestigors, we've got hand and shield with the Zangors. It would have been nice to get additional hand weapons with these guys, having all the God Touch Gores being kind of different. I mean, in a perfect world, we'd have a few variants with different types of weapons, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. This is likely a Games Workshop thing, so I'm not going to complain that much. But yeah, it would have been nice, though.
Khorne sounds like it would be quite a fun one to do audio for. Has there been any kind of highlights of that process that you want to talk about, Chris?
Yeah, Steve. I think as soon as we saw the roster for Khorne, I think it got our team pretty excited, and I know that the Slaughterbrute got one of our team members particularly excited. He's actually a metal singer in a band, and I think it was like a match made in heaven, really. So he wanted to lend his vocal skills. It's quite terrifying, actually, what he can do playing like. And yeah, the Slaughterbrute is without a doubt the angriest sounding creature on the battlefield at the moment. So yeah, I was just reviewing it this morning with the team, and it's starting to sound really good.
Okay, not a lot to talk about, but sounds and looks fantastic. It's one of those models that a lot of people are pissed off that isn't available for Warhammer the Old World, because it's an Age of Sigmar unit now. Oh god, I hate that bloody distinction. But I'm pretty happy. Like, it looks really good. I know a lot of people are going to go, oh, it's very similar to the Mutilated Vortex piece, but keep in mind they come from the same kit. They were supposed to look very similar. So yeah, it looks like the model. I know a lot of people are going to go, oh my god, that's just awesome.
You know, we looked at abilities for ogres. Is there any for Khorne, for Skulltaker, that you can tell us about?
Yeah, so he'll have his Cloak of Skulls ability. You'll have various means of enhancing it on the campaign side, but on the battle side, Skulltaker's a character you'll want to send against other legendary lords and lord characters in general. He's very good at one-on-one dueling, but the Cloak of Skulls will sort of enhance his defensive capabilities. In combat, providing he's got lots and lots of kills, his defensive stats will be progressively buffed. So this is a character which you'll send against other characters, ideally with these stats enhanced. So you could get the best out of him and make him even more durable. And let's just say the opposing side will have a really tough time against him.
So are those buffs enhanced by the amount of skulls he's taken, essentially?
Oh yes. Oh yes, you'll want to get as many as you can to max them out.
So he's going to get more defensive by the amount of kills that he can rack up. That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? He's getting further bonuses and further powers. It's nice that they kind of reinforced once again. This is something that I discussed a few times when they confirmed him. He's a character killer, right? And this is supposed to be really important for his lore. So it's going to be nice to get a character lord that is actually going to be able to hold their own. You got a lot of spellcaster lords that, unless they're mounted on a dragon, they're very squishy, for example, or just some other characters which are generally quite squishy as it stands. He is a melee fighter. He's there to just really hurt, and he can snipe out, hopefully, characters like Wolfrake and take them in battle. A little fun fact, I wasn't interested in Khorne very early on into the pre-release of Warhammer 3, but the more that I played Khorne, I got really into them, so I'm kind of looking forward to another character.
Little fact about the Cloak of Skulls, as soon as we saw the unit art for that, I said to the team, I want to hear those skulls. It's such a unique cape.
That's very, very morbid,
cape,
Chris.
It is a little bit. What's probably a bit more disturbing is when one of our team members said, I got you sorted, don't worry, I can get some bones. Genuine bones. I didn't ask too many questions other than
do you when that kind of statement comes out?
Other than they were procured by humane means, so that's fine. But when you get up close to the Skulltaker on the battlefield and you hear his cape flowing around, you'll hear real bones on there, which is a bit gross, but it's pretty cool. So yeah.
So what this guy's saying is something that might be very small to people who might go, oh, big whoop, I don't get up close. However, it's nice. This is real attention to detail. That's stuff that people have been asking for a lot for Warhammer 3 and just in general for Total War. So I'm really keen that that's the thing, right? Because when you get up close to a guy wearing a cloak of skulls, you're expecting to hear the skulls rattling. That's a really good thing. I love the attention to detail. This makes me really happy.
Obviously, with all this paid content as well, we also have the free stuff that comes, like the rebalancing, the patching, the bug fixes, the FLC, that sort of stuff. Is there anything coming as part of Update 6.0 that you can talk about?
You betcha, yeah. The team's been working really hard on loads of stuff behind the scenes on that. So let's start with the Greenskins. So the Greenskins are getting an update to the scrap system that we introduced in Warhammer 2 for War in the Paunch. So there's going to be some UI and UX changes there to just help the flow, make it feel a bit easier, get some of those nice upgrades that the Orcs and Goblins need for battle. So that should be a fun one.
Right, I don't want to say I'm disappointed just now. Maybe Rich hasn't said everything, but it looks like the Greenskins are only going to get an update to the scrap system. I mean, the scrap system was fine. It wasn't perfect, let's be honest, but I feel like time could have been spent on Grimgor, Scarsnake, Wurzag. A few reworks here and there would be nice, just to give them a little bit more reason to play with, barring, Grimgor being Grimgor and Wurzag being Wurzag.
Now for the ogres, oh Steve, it's an ogre hall. So there's all sorts of stuff happening there. We're going to be having some updates to the Great Moor and the offerings there. But one that I quite like is also what Josh was talking about earlier. So with the Ogre Paymaster, our new Lord, all the Ogre Lords are going to get big names now. So nice. Yeah, it's not just reserved to our legendary Lords of the past. So that's a nice one for them.
Okay, we're just going to stop here, talk about that very quickly. So an update to the Great Moor, yep, sounds good. The fact that characters will all be able to get big names now is super good, mostly because it's compliant with like the tabletop. That was just basically like a upgrade system, really, and it was really lacking here. So it's nice to see that being fleshed out a little bit, hopefully with some new additions just to kind of flesh things up a little bit more.
And then Khorne. Khorne's got a big one.
Nice. Sorry, I had to. It's like 2 a.m.
Khorne's got a great one. They got something called the Skull Throne. All their legendary lords are going to get access to this new panel, which will feature a variety of different timed buffs. You're going to be accumulating through battles skulls, and of course, once you've got your skulls, you're going to be spending them in this feature. So you're going to be doing all sorts of things like getting army abilities or spreading Khorne corruption. And as you progressively spend the skulls there, you're going to progress up the tower and then get to some of the big juicy buffs at the end. So lots of skulls and lots of bones, Chris. The bone man over there, indeed.
All right, a few things. First up, I don't think Rich knows what bone man means in internet speak. And secondly, okay, so they're not actually talking about everything. Okay, I was a little bit scared when it came to the Greenskins, but it looks like they're just going with some examples. That being said, the new Skull Throne mechanic looks freaking awesome. So I'm really happy about that because, yeah, it was kind of crap. Let's just not sugarcoat it. The vanilla one at the moment is just not good. So I'm pretty excited to see how this is going to come into play. You get a lot of skulls throughout your campaign, and you end up with practically no use for them. It's nice to see factions being brought more in line. I mean, we saw that with Thrones of Decay, where Nurgle was now brought in line with what people expected. So it's nice to see Khorne getting that time in the sun. Hopefully, we won't have to wait 50 million years for Tzeentch to get that too.
So yeah, we've mentioned in the past that the FLC content that's coming with this is going to be for Khorne.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the powers that be have given us permission to say who it is.
I don't know why you're looking at me.
Rich, are you ready? Take it away, Chris.
This time around, our new legendary lord, free legendary lord, will be Arbaal.
I mean, everyone and their mother called that Arbaal the Undefeated was kind of expected. He was the best choice, especially since Scar became a hero. Pretty good design. I know some people are going to go, well, he looks like a Chaos Warrior. That's what he is. And he does it very bloody well.
And he is a pretty exciting character to work with because his thing is he wants to fight the biggest, baddest things on the battlefield. So yeah, we wanted to make sure that he sounded, you know, mean, mighty, and just giving it his all. So the order team, the dialogue team did a great job in really channeling that characteristic of him.
Definitely a very different take to Skulltaker. So I think between him and Scarbrand, you got 3 pretty great, you know, Khorne legendary lords here to play with. And as Chris said, Arbaal's all going to be about taking on these biggest battles for his feature called the Wrath of Khorne. So he's trying to do all the things in the eyes of Khorne himself, you know, to be that great champion. And yeah, with playing around with ideas, which was playing to his lore as well. So if you dig deep on that, and if you hear about what happens to him if he wasn't to succeed, well, we've got some ideas around that. Let's just...
So in the lore on the tabletop, if he doesn't succeed, he turns into a spawn. I could see that happening, but I don't know if they're going to do that, because it would require a unique-looking spawn. Should be interesting. I'm curious. I'm expecting a lot of negatives. And obviously he's got the doggy mounts, because that's going to be a given, right? Yeah, I mean, excited about this. Arbaal's a cool character. It's nice seeing a redesign. If you've got like a minute, go and Google Arbaal the Undefeated miniature old, right? And it's not great. It hasn't aged well at all. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about seeing him up and running in a new styling. That's lovely.
And that also brings the count to 100, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, can you believe it?
I know, that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing achievement. When we first started way back, and many of us have been working on the series for quite some time now, I don't think in our wildest dreams we'd get to that number. We knew there was lots to make, but yeah, it's quite a moment.
Now, I'm going to be kind of honest here. I don't want to be negative at all, but I don't know if he's a good character for number 100, unless he's got like a lot of fun mechanics and so on. But they did hype up the 100 was going to be a big one, and there was going to be loads of things. Arbaal isn't that well known, I'll be honest with you. I mean, he's a character that I appreciate because I've got the miniature, I've played with him back in the day, but I kind of feel like number 100 should have been someone really big, right? Someone very famous, like Thanquol or something. They're going to save him, he's going to happen eventually, but you know what I mean, right? Like, celebration-wise, should have been something different. Now, I hear you typing down there, so just wait a second. I'm still excited for Arbaal, and I'm very, very curious to see how he's going to play. Hopefully, he's focusing more on mortal stuff, because, you know, like Tamukan does, it'd always be nice to have a bit of distinction there. I mean, in a perfect world, every mono-god faction will have 3 legendary lords. I'm looking at you, Zinch. So it's nice to see a different styling. I didn't like the idea of, and we all know this, originally they didn't want this to be like mono-god factions. They just wanted to be Khorne, right? So it would have been all demons and all this, all that. So it's nice to see it come to this, that you've got another playstyle. What would make it even better, to be honest, is if you had the choice with the mortal characters, if you wanted to play as monogod or as a Chaos faction. I've suggested this in the past, but you never know. Alright, so I'm leaving the rest in, which is mostly just sound design stuff, but actually it's really cool. I wasn't expecting that to be such an interesting thing. I literally just sat there rewatching it. It's really interesting how everything goes into the game. But there is some things to talk about. So, they've confirmed that the trailer is going to be this month, and also gameplay showcases and so on, which is great. I can't wait to get my hands on this. Oh my god, I've been waiting for so long. The moment they started talking about, like, you know, Gorbad and so on, I'm just really excited. But, yeah, we're getting there, boys. We're getting there. This was great. This was a great showcase, going into details, going into sound design and so on. I've got to say, man, I really wish Creative Assembly would start doing more, like, developer diaries like this, but, like, one fully dedicated to battle design, one fully dedicated to audio design. Because not only is it good for them to showcase some of the process, it's also the case of, you know, showing what people aspire to, people who want to learn how to play games, or just in general for us to see what goes on behind the scenes. Because sometimes, myself included, we do bitch about things not coming out fast enough and so on. But yeah, that was interesting. That sound design stuff coming up is really freaking good, man. Yeah, I really like that. But yeah, okay, we're going in for a good spot here. We've got some pretty cool reveals, some brand new units. I'm pretty excited for Arbaal. Orc stuff is going to be awesome. Yeah, man, I'm pretty happy. Keep in mind that we've been waiting 8 months for this DLC, right? So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. About fucking time, right? It's just, that's the only way I can say it. But I'm fairly happy with what's been showcased during all the different, like, reveals and so on. It's felt a little bit dragged out, but at least it feels satisfying. That being said, I'm really hoping, and if anyone from Creative Assembly is listening, and I know you are, because you'll DM me a little bit afterwards, I really hope the next DLC is not this fucking long. No more 8 months, please. It's felt really weird. It's felt really, really weird. Not in a thing that you should rush. That's a big thing, though. If you feel like it's going to take 8 months because it's to get it right, that's the most important thing. But yeah, it's felt like a drought, which has felt kind of frustrating, especially from the point of view of there's a lot of really cool stuff that still isn't in the game, and I'm kind of worried that taking too long is going to lead to it just not getting there, if that makes sense. Other than that, like, the DLC quality from what we can see is starting to look pretty damn good. Like, it's sounding kind of similar to Thrones of Decay in terms of quality, and if it can keep in that, like, ballpark, that's going to be very good, because a lot of people have been worried, myself included, that these DLCs were going to be more like, I don't know, Shadows of Change 2.0, which still isn't worth it in my opinion, but Thrones of Decay is a fantastic title, and if this DLC, which, interestingly enough, still no name, yeah, weird, but if this DLC is going to be at least around the same ballpark as Thrones of Decay, and all future DLCs are going to be like that, I'm feeling confident. The transparency is very freaking good. So, yeah, it's sounding decent. It's sounding decent. Let's hope for the best. Obviously, keep your defenses up, everyone. It's very important. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. I do apologize if I'm just sounding a little bit tired. It is kind of late. I have been busy, as you guys know. I've been helping out Voldemort, who has recently been hacked. So I've been trying to help him get in contact with YouTube support and so on, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our friends don't get screwed over, right? Have a great day, guys. I'll see you all again very, very soon. See ya.
Chris, let's talk a little bit more about audio and how all of that comes together. So what's your process, I guess, from like conceptualization of a DLC through to people hearing it for the first time and things like that?
Well, I think any audio team is quite lucky to work on Total War Warhammer, because it is such a rich world and as such an amazing character. So it is a playground for us to work in. But our process starts really when we see the unit roster come through and we start seeing some of that concept art. And we can start, as our sort of departments, our dialogue department, sound design department, start planning out what we're doing at quite that early phase. So our really talented dialogue team, they sit down with our designers and narrative team, and they work out what we call a character bio. So this is all the characteristics of that unit or lord or whatever it might be, that, you know, how big they are, where they're from, what's their age, what makes them tick, what there's some vocal characteristics that we might be expecting. And from that, they go away to a really extensive casting process, and we get lots and lots of talented actors to come in and read for these parts. And then we do, you know, this casting process is quite extensive. We make sure that we really nail, so everyone's kind of has a score and has an opinion on these things until we kind of go, right, that's the one, that's the match up for those units or that character or that lord. And then the team will do some prototyping on maybe some voice processing, you know, make it sound a bit corny or maybe a bit more ogre-y. And then finally, doing what the team are doing right now is onto the actual recording. So our script writers have put together, you know, really great scripts for the characters. Yeah, I can't wait for the audience to see what we've got this time around. And our sound design team, meanwhile, even before we start getting animations or VFX in, we can look at these unit rosters and go do our research and look up the lore. What we really like doing is seeing where there's something unique or some characteristic we want to bring out with the sound design. And the great thing about Total War is the scale is from the giant battlefield right down to the thing. So with to right up close. So we can make sure that their abilities or their projectiles or their weapons, particularly for our lords, sound really big, so the player knows exactly what's going on the battlefield, or can have an idea in that chaos that there's something big and bad happening over there. To the right up close to all the all the character movements. So we break our layers down into footsteps and character armor, so they might have something unique in their armor, right the way to their vocalizations as well. So we spend a lot of time making sure that all that language of stuff is brought together with the sound. So it's a really fun process.
You don't really think about that when you're playing the game and you're hearing all the sounds together, that every single one of those sounds has had like a process that has laid it all together.
There's nothing for free in this, unfortunately. We've got to design everything from scratch. But the team have a really good time. It's challenging because the designers, they throw a lot at us, and what they want to do.
It's fun though. It's fun.
Absolutely, and I'm not sorry.
But the great thing about it with us is we are bouncing off of what the amazing character artists, what the animators, what the VFX team do. So we can help bring all their amazing work to life with the sound, and hopefully the players kind of feel that, so it will feel visceral and feels real, and they have a good time doing it. So
you got some weird techniques, haven't you, on the team, like how you make some of the sounds?
Yeah, that's very true. this time round we kind of had a bit of a bonus. So when we had the squigs, so we've got the traditional little squigs, and we've got this gigantic colossal squig. It's a chance for us to kind of maybe rework a little bit of the older content that we've got in the game, so we can make the squigs sound even squiggier, a bit gross. But of course we've got this giant one, so we really wanted this guy to just sound really gross. And the team kind of go above and beyond, and there's some when I saw the footage come through the recording session, because we've actually got a team out in Sofia of sound designers, and they really love recording stuff from scratch, and it was quite possibly the grossest recording session I've ever heard. I'm pretty sure porridge and yogurt and all sorts of weird squishy things were involved to make bring out the inner squig from these characters. It was quite
they went above and beyond. They really did, and they certainly turned some people's stomachs here when they saw the footage.
Actually, I think we've got the clip that we can show, so roll it. When you're playing and you see the colossal squig and you hear those wonderful sounds, think of that poor dev sucking on porridge.
At least we didn't have to do that, Steve.
But speaking of that,
it's true.
Group recordings.
Recordings, yeah. We love to get our devs involved. So I remember we have these emails that go out and say, right, okay, we need to do a group recording session for our ogres or our Khorne units, and the team deliver and don't disappoint. And I think that we usually
Thank you.
Yeah. Steve did one as well this time around.
Rich and I. We've done some of the battle cries and stuff like that. So we're in there somewhere.
It was good fun, wasn't it?
It was great. Although I couldn't speak for a day.
No, I think my voice drops about 2 octaves after that. So everyone thinks I've got some horrendous cold afterwards. But it's really good fun, and you hear it in the game. You get this this sound of the army, right? It's and it's the team do a great job processing and layering all this stuff together. So it's the units. You feel them on the unit. It's great.
3, 2, 1.
For the Black God!
3, 2, 1.
For the Black God!
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Slaughter!
Perfect. 3, 2, 1.
Slaughter!
And so once the team have done all their incredible work and we've got all the sound design and we've got all the dialogue together, then we start the mixing process. And actually that's the bit that I love the most, is actually hearing everything all together, and we start balancing everything against each other. So we make sure that the most important sounds are heard on the battlefield, and all the tiny details when the characters get nice and close are audible as well. And it's just the final sheen, the final polish on everything. few last-minute feedback notes, are always natural in this process in our iterations phase. But yeah, that's the bit where we kind of put the final audio polish on it. Yeah.
Awesome. It's got to be really rewarding hearing all of that come together into that final product.
Yeah, so much hard work goes into it from the audio team as well as the wider team, and it's it is the final step that you kind of go, yeah, that's there. We got something good in the bag there.
Just makes it, doesn't it? Just immerses you in into the world.
Well, thank you guys for joining me for this today. It's been really great to give some more information about the next DLC and Update 6.0. We'll be back later this month with the official trailer, as well as some gameplay showcases and things like that on the run-up to release. So once again, Rich, Josh, Chris, thanks again for joining us, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye. And I am once again sat down with some of our awesome development team, including Rich, Josh, and Sean. Before we, Sean, it's not your name. Sorry.
Face melt.
I'm obviously pining for Sean.
Music, black and white.
Yeah.
Can we have Sean to floor one, please?
Change my name here.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah.